You know exactly what you need to do, and for some reason, you can't get yourself to do it. So in this video, we're going to talk about how it is we can get ourselves to take the action that we know we're supposed to take. Because we all know that the only way to reach the success that we want is through and to get through that uncomfortable time. I was recently having a conversation with somebody, and it got really uncomfortable because it had to do with salaries and money. And it was one of these things that both of us probably didn't want to speak about, but it was something that was so important. And I was so grateful after the fact that we had this conversation that we were able to figure out what was going on. We both had clarity in terms of the direction that we wanted to go. And how many times have I had a conversation with my spouse where I was speaking to her and I was trying to figure out certain things, or certain things were bothering me and I didn't really want to bring them up because I didn't want to have one of those conversations that we both end up crying and all those things. But if we could start to have those conversations, if we could start to go through those uncomfortable times, that is where we're going to grow. That is when we're going to become the person that we want to become. Through those conversations with my wife is how we grew such an amazing relationship. And we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing or what are we not doing that is really holding us back? Because we need to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. We all know that the only way to grow our muscles in the gym is to start working out. And the harder it is for us, the more our muscles are going to grow. And the same thing applies to our own personal development, our own growth. So if we are starting to avoid certain areas of our life, if we're not looking to pay attention to things that we know we need to be doing, and we're just pushing them off to the side because we don't want to deal with it right now, we have to understand that those things are the ones that are sucking up the most energy. And I remember there was a time where I was getting so stressed out, and I did something called an energy audit. An energy audit is something that I learned from the coach Rich Lippman, where you make a T on a chart and you have one column of all the different things that give you energy in life and all the other things that are taking away energy in your life. Now, what's interesting about stress is that really stress is what's happening is we constantly are thinking about the same things over and over and over again in our minds, but because they're getting so big and they're getting so much pressure and we're giving them so much energy, they end up just sucking everything out of us. But we have to realize if we can get things on paper, we're going to see exactly what is sucking our energy, but what is actually giving us energy. And after this list, I had about 8 things on the list of things that were giving me energy and only 3 things that were taking away my energy. But because those 3 things I was procrastinating, I was just pushing off, I was not able to function. I was so stressed out because of that. And I started to just nail things down to give certain timelines in order to be able to accomplish the things that I wanted to be doing. And certain things I wasn't able to do right then and there. I needed to wait a couple of months because I was waiting to hear back from certain people. But understanding that was transformative when it came to my own growth and my own just personal feeling in terms of how it is that I was going to be able to move forward. For so many of us, we get so stuck because we don't want to take the action. And guess what? You don't have to take the action always until the Band-Aid needs to be ripped off. And for so many of us, we don't want to wait till the end because how much energy have we wasted? How many times did you not want to have that conversation and then you had the conversation and you're just so grateful you did it already? And how better do you feel because you were able to move forward and to do those things? So ask yourself, what is the thing that I'm getting uncomfortable with that I have to start getting comfortable with? The next thing we have to understand is that there are sometimes that we're in big fear. There's a fear of failure. We're not sure how the result is going to be. Not always is the conversation going to go well, right? You might be having a conversation with somebody about money and then all of a sudden they might blow up on you. So what we have to start to ask ourselves is, what is the real fear that's happening here? And we believe in our minds and we try to protect ourselves and say, hey, you know what? This thing is not going to go well and I'm just preparing myself. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be that way. We can actually show up very differently. And honestly, the way we show up to the situation is going to a lot of times translate how the situation is going to go. So if I'm already on the defense and I'm already coming up that I'm scared that there's going to be this blowout, so when I come to this situation, what am I bringing? I'm bringing that energy with me. So the first time there's some rockiness or some conflict, I'm already attacking because I've been worked up for days or weeks or months even about this thing. So we need to ask ourselves, what is really holding us back? Is it the fear of failure? Is the fear that we don't know what's going to happen? And because of that, we are acting a certain way and we are feeling, more importantly, a certain way. But it doesn't have to be like that. Because just like we're tricking ourselves for it to not work out, we could trick ourselves to make it work out. It's just a belief we're doing. And if we could start to change that belief, that all of a sudden we could be able to move forward in the direction that we want to be able to move forward in. Another idea is that we have to realize that once we understand that we're going to have to take the uncomfortable action, we might as well go big. You see, so many times when it comes to our own personal goals that we want to set for ourselves, we know we have to push ourselves. But if you could be pushing yourself a little bit more and get a better result, would it not make sense? And this is a big common theme when it comes to actual growth, that 2x is harder than 10x. Because if you want to really take things to the next level, you're going to have to become a different person. time. It's not just about putting in the time, it's about becoming a different type of person who could handle all the things that you want to be doing. So ask yourself, if you are going to get uncomfortable in the first place, might as well look to try to figure out what is it you can start to do to get really uncomfortable. And because it's going to be the same thing in the inside, to be able to do certain actions, to be able to become somebody different. And it's a question you need to ask yourself and try to figure out, where am I on that list, to be able to see and figure out what is it I need to be doing. What we also need to realize is that we need to start to be consistent with that discomfort. It's an amazing thing that we can put ourselves one time in a position where we feel uncomfortable. So maybe you have to give a presentation at work and you raise your hand and you're being very courageous, and it's amazing that you're putting yourself out there. And we move up the ladder of our confidence in terms of being able to give presentations now. But the next time somebody offers to give a presentation, are you going to raise your hand? Are you going to be the one to say, you know what, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to get myself back out there. Or are you going to say, I've done it, I'm hanging up the cleats? Because if we can start to recognize, hey, you know what? Every time I put myself out there, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to grow and grow and grow. And that consistency is going to build our confidence through the roof. And that's why it's more important to be courageous in the moment as opposed to confident in the moment. Because the confidence is only the result of taking the action so many different times. If we can only take it once, that's an amazing thing, and our confidence is going to be built. But if we can do it again and again and again, that's the thing that's going to really be able to help us move forward and continuously look to build our confidence. And the last tip that I want you to really think about is, when you are going through one of those moments of growth, I want you to feel it. You see, so many times we go through a moment and we're nervous and we're stressed out and we're really trying to figure out what it is we want to be doing, but we don't allow ourselves to grow in that moment. And I'll give you an example. I was one time playing in a rec basketball league, and we were in the championship, and before the championship, I was getting so nervous, and I was trying to figure out, one of the first times I'm in the championship, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to play? I hope I play well. I was the captain of the team. It was putting a lot of pressure on myself. And what I started to do is I started to take a step back and started to just appreciate the moment. That the moment that I was in, I was growing. I was becoming somebody in this moment. That yes, it felt uncomfortable, but that imposter syndrome was just me taking it to the next level to say, hey, I'm now a championship player, and I could take things into the next level. And what was interesting is that I could use that same feeling to another area of my life. So the next time I get uncomfortable and I feel nervous, I can remember that time when I was playing in my basketball championship, and I was able to perform the way I did and really take that on to the next time and say, hey, you know what? I can do this. And this is why so many athletes are so good when it comes to the clutch moments, because they're able to build this story up in their head that they were able to be clutch one time and they're able to move forward. And what's interesting is that even if they missed that previous time, but the fact that we're taking the shots and putting themselves in the situation and they going to hit the shot, that is something that we have to recognize. So ask yourself, what is it you can be doing? How is it you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable? And if it's a fear of failure, what is it you're really scared of, in order to be able to move forward and to really grow? Because if you're not getting uncomfortable, then you're probably not growing, and you're not going to feel good about the things that you're going to be doing. And if you find yourself constantly procrastinating, make sure to take a look at this next video to see if it's actually procrastination or maybe it's really something else.